Oh, the Nappuccino. Perhaps one of my best friends in college. I learned about this in a book called When by Daniel H. Pink, which I have already mentioned in this course. Link is below, image is here somewhere, on all the things above, which seriously, it's an incredible book. So what is the Nappuccino? You know your afternoon dip, the moment in the afternoon that you feel just or that post-lunch slump? Well, that's why the Nappuccino exists. Okay, Luis, cool, I get it, but how is it done? Very easy. 3 steps. 1, you're gonna chug or drink as fast as you possibly can a cup of coffee or espresso. I prefer espressos. And then 2, you're gonna set an alarm for 25 minutes. And 3, you're gonna go to a place that's decently dark as you can possibly find, and peaceful, and you're gonna sleep. Yes. And then the final step is waking up, which doesn't really count as a step, but yes, waking up. Luis, but why 25 minutes? Turns out it takes me about 5 minutes to fall asleep. And complete side note, for some reason, in the afternoon, I can only fall asleep if I am laying down flat face down with my hands under me. I don't really get it. I cannot sleep like this at night, but in the afternoon works. So maybe you're gonna have some quirk like that as well. So having 25 minutes will allow me some wiggle room to, fall asleep and then enjoy 15 to 20 minutes of a real nap. Okay, let's explain all of this. How does this work? Why does this work? 1, power naps have shown to be beneficial for long-term memory, cognitive function, and increased creativity. And that's without even talking about, the obvious improved alertness that you're gonna have because you're not falling asleep anymore, and the better mood because, again, you're not gonna be grumpy and sleepy. 2, these power naps should definitely be before 4 p.m. if you have a regular schedule, okay? Now, assuming you have this regular schedule, you wanna keep them as early as you possibly can or as close as you possibly can from lunch, because the later you have them, the chances are going to be higher that you're going to interfere with your actual sleep cycle later in the day. 3, another fun fact, when you're drinking caffeine, it takes about 15 to 30 minutes for the caffeine itself to kick in your system. 4, the Sleep Foundation has found that the perfect nap is about 10 to 20 minutes. And this is so you don't get into the deep sleep stage. And also, longer naps are associated with feeling groggy afterwards. If you ever had, those naps throughout the day that you wake up and you don't even know who you are, it's kind of what's going on. And now we do a little life math to see why you should probably do Nappuccinos. So you're gonna have this formula, add up. Power naps are totally good for you, plus how totally awful you feel after lunch and how useless you feel, plus the perfect length of a nap, plus the time that it takes you to fall asleep in the afternoon, plus the time that it takes the caffeine to kick in. Boom, Nappuccino magic. I've linked a ton of sources in this video, including our Take It or Give It Unsunk podcast that we talk about this. Okay, let's go into part 2 of this video. Now my life gets a little more complicated. It's pretty easy for me to tell you to drink more coffee. It's a lot more complicated for me to tell you to drink less. I know, bear with me. Look, there are a couple things. I love coffee. I love my daily cup of coffee, 1 or 2 sometimes. But I also know how important sleep is for me, and to some extent, I try to let my body wake up and sleep as naturally as possible. So I have a couple things to say. 1, I've come to learn a few years ago that one shouldn't drink caffeine first thing in the morning. So, picture yourself just waking up kind of grumpy out of bed, just kind of going and then making your coffee and just walking around the house sipping that first cup of coffee. I know half of you are wanting to kill me. Let me explain, let me put out why, why this matters. And if you want to totally ignore me, you can, but the benefits are there. First thing you need to know about this specifically is that your body releases cortisol in the morning to wake you up. It does this naturally. And while caffeine can have the same effect of waking you up, it actually does the same thing through a different process, and actually it inhibits the process of the cortisol. Let me explain. So in the first scenario, without coffee, your body releases cortisol to wake you up naturally. Now on the second scenario, with coffee, the caffeine tells your body, it blocks the signals that you are tired. So it's not like you're not tired still, it just blocks your system and it's like, hey, this person ain't tired. So therefore, that person should keep going. You see how those are 2 different processes? Now add to this the fact that we actually develop a tolerance for coffee. And again, I'm speaking generically. Now add to this the fact that we generally create a tolerance for caffeine. So when you drink coffee upon waking, you're doing two things. One, you're blocking this natural waking process. And then two, remember that as you drink more coffee, your tolerance goes up. You're gonna need more coffee to feel that same level of wakefulness in the morning. Also, side note, but not side note, I've linked 2 research papers about this below, so feel free to go read them as well. So when can I drink coffee? Let's think about cortisol again. Peak cortisol levels happen somewhere between 60 to 90 minutes post-waking. So at that point, your cortisol levels are the highest, meaning you're going to be alert. Therefore, you want to keep your first cup of coffee in the morning post 90 minutes. For most of us, that's not as bad because if you're just waking up and going to work, like you're getting ready and going to work, by the time you're there, maybe you just have another 30 minutes before you're able to drink your first coffee. Now, there's a couple things that you have to be honest with yourself. You may be saying, oh, I can't wake up if I don't drink coffee. Are you using your caffeine dependency to mitigate and hide the fact that you lack healthy sleep habits? That's question number 1. And then 2, are you afraid to admit that perhaps you are addicted to caffeine? I know these questions may sound harsh. That's not my intention. That's not the point. But someone needs to ask you those questions. And likely, it's not going to be your addicted friends or colleagues. Okay, cool. Now, I have good news and bad news. And since you're not here to quite choose what you want first, I'm gonna give you the good news first. If you decide to embark on this no coffee to wake up journey, a couple things will happen. First one of them is that you will enjoy your morning coffee a lot more because now it is not a need, it's a choice. You choose to drink coffee in the morning. It's not like you need it to wake up. You're like, hey, I just like my coffee and I want to have it in the morning sometime in the morning. That's fine, but you don't need it. You're not dependent on it. 2, some people have faced gastric benefits or, gut benefits because since coffee is acidic, that may upset your stomach in the morning. So if you're postponing that to perhaps after your breakfast, well, you might have some really cool benefits as well. Again, I'm no doctor. I'm just telling you what some people have told me. 3, you drink less coffee. So some people would have a massive, giant jug of coffee that they would consume between 9 and 12, and then another one between 2 and 5. But now you don't need between 9 and 11. Now maybe you just need a little bit between 11 and 12, for example. So again, the point is you may reduce the amount of coffee you're drinking overall, which is really nice. Now, the bad news. If you go on this journey of no coffee to wake up, well, the first few days are totally going to suck. It's going to be awful. You're gonna feel like, oh my gosh, I really was addicted to coffee and I want it again. And I know, it sucks, but it's totally worth it, I promise. Just power through it, you get it. Give it 10 days, give it 12 days, give it 15 days. It's going to get better. Another thing that I've mentioned on the sleep video is the fact that natural sunlight, even if it's cloudy, helps with cortisol levels. That means that if you go for a walk in the morning, that will help you wake up. So that's another thing for you to fight that tiredness in the morning. If you wake up too early and there's no sunlight outside, what you can do is turn on as many lights as you can. This is not as beneficial as the sunlight, but that already helps. Again, the whole point here is to tell your body, like, hey, it's morning, time to wake up, let's function. And if you fall into the second category of people that wake up too early to have sunlight and you need artificial light, what you can do is whenever the sun actually comes up, take some time, take 5, 15, 20 minutes to go outside. Same thing, don't skip that process, it still helps you. Now, another thing I want to mention is do not drink coffee past 3 p.m. I've talked about this in the sleep video again, but still, let me remind you that caffeine has a 4-hour half-life. That means that imagine you drink a whole cup by 4 p.m. 4 hours later is as if half of that cup was still in your body. So if you drink it at 4, at 8, you still have half of it. And then at 12, you still have a 25% of it. Now, if you're drinking this at 8 p.m., if you're drinking coffee at 7 p.m., now that's gonna mess up your sleep, okay? So the earlier you can have your last cup of coffee, the better. I do my best to keep it before 3. If you can keep it before 2, better. If you can keep it at 12, even better, okay? So to recap, 3 points for you. 1, Nappuccinos can be a great addition to your schedule. 2. Don't drink caffeine within 60 to 90 minutes from waking up. And 3. Don't drink caffeine past 3 p.m. and obviously adjust this to your reality.